management. My name is John Fitzgerald with the IBM Storage and SDI Enablement team, and I will be moderating this session. Our webinar today is about IBM Hyperscale Manager, which is a newly created management server and user interface that transforms management for the family of offerings built from IBM Spectrum Accelerate storage software. I am pleased to have with us two great speakers, Nick Harris, who is the storage lead with the IBM Competitive Project Office and just last week published an article on IBM Hyperscale Manager, and Moshe Weiss, who is the Senior Manager of Development and Design of the IBM Hyperscale Manager, and has professionally presided over the birth of this new user interface, morning and night, for the past several years. Nick and Moshe, thanks for joining us today. With that, let's begin. Nick, over to you.
Thanks, John. Hi, Moshe. If you can, hi everybody on the call. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. I'm just going to do this chat over Moshe going over to screen share, and we'll begin with chart 2 as soon as we get there. Thanks, Moshe. So, I've been part of Spectrum Accelerate and part of XIV before that for quite a while. And this new interface is particularly timely, I feel, for IBM's thrust into this hybrid cloud environment. I've been doing some research over the last couple of weeks to try and find how hybrid cloud is actually impacting our customers from an analyst perspective. I see when I speak to clients, I speak to storage admins, the direct impact, which is the fuzziness, the fogginess of cloud when I talk to them. I managed to find this IDC report where they went out to 300 customers and asked them questions about software-defined infrastructure, which really is the bedrock of a hybrid cloud environment. And one of the things that they came back with as their top item was this lack of skills and lack of resource. And I think that that's echoed by many of the folks that I talked to. I was in Milan last week. That there is a lack of resource. People have, through attrition, through moving jobs, have dwindled down that storage resource over the past 5 or 6 years. Plus, if I look at the XIV experience and the Spectrum Accelerate experience, that's accentuated because the GUI is so user-friendly and has been that way for the past several years. So, one person can manage quite a complex on-premise, real physical system environment, whether it's A9000 or whether it's XIV. And that's the challenge, is now we're looking at on-premise cloud building and off-premise cloud building, where you need to add new dimensions to that environment. So we're going to look at how this new Hyperscale Manager interface builds on the history of the XIV UI and adds that user-centricness to it. Next chart, Moshe. So digging a little deeper into this report, before customers implement something like the HSM GUI or go into SDI, they're struggling and struggling to do innovation and struggling to get to new projects because they're spending a lot of their time doing monitoring, doing provisioning, those everyday activities, looking at troubleshooting. And if they're not already in something like the XIV GUI, they're spending a lot of time going backwards and forwards between panels or between pop-ups to do their tasks. In moving forward, we're looking at improving their productivity substantially. Moshe and the lab folks have actually done research and shown that there's a 50% reduction in the clicks, but it's beyond the reduction in the clicks that's needed for this new hyperscale management where we're going into hybrid clouds. You cannot keep walking around with paper and spreadsheets and other devices gathering information to do simplistic tasks. You've got to be able to do those tasks from a user and task-centric perspective. And by the way, this may not be just a traditional admin that's doing this. This may be a system admin. This may be an application admin. This potentially could be an end user allocating storage. So the GUI needs to be people-orientated, which is a unique from an IBM perspective in the fact that we actually have roles and categories within access to the GUI, which is defined by those people and has access through that definition, but also is task-centric. Next chart, please, Moshe. So if I look at existing UIs, and I built this little chart based on going around YouTube and looking at the 2016, maybe a couple of 2015 videos from, I would say, the leading 10 companies that are out there in the storage arena. And what you get is you either get a directory structure style or you get a graphical look and feel. Now, I would say XIV GUI is in the graphical look and feel style. Many of the other manufacturers are in this directory structure. And what tends to make it more difficult is you go through the directory structure, which is a number of clicks to get there. But then when you want to do a task, you are presented with a pop-up. Those pop-ups then lock the interface, which means that I can't do anything else. If I need another piece of information, I either have to back out, go find it somewhere in that GUI, or I have to have it written down and use it alongside me. So that typically requires a significant skill set in order to do that, because you've got to do a task in one go, you've got to completely have your ducks in a row and know what you're doing beforehand. So what you need is a GUI that's more flexible, that's live across the whole environment and doesn't lock that screen out if you wanted to go and find another piece of information. It requires the user to remember relationships between objects. A volume isn't just capacity. It's mapped to a host. It has a quality of service. It has a protection level. There are a significant number of relationships around just that simple object that need to be looked at. The other thing that I found is that the mobile characteristics, the ability for an end user, either a storage admin, maybe a system admin, to interface with a lot of these environments is still either client or browser-based, which typically dictates a desktop or a laptop. Many people I talk to now, they're on phablets, they're on tablets to do their daily work because they're going from meeting to meeting, they're going from machine room, and they may not be necessarily actively just sat at their desk. So when you look at some of the other environments, they're not designed to be used by a tablet. HSM and its design is mobile friendly. That's part of the design mechanism. And Moshe, I'll talk about that in a minute. Next chart, please, Moshe. So if I look at one of the strengths that we've built on, we started off with the XIV. We took the XIV and then we said, okay, we can do this as software. The market is demanding, give me a software-defined environment. So we went out, took that software, that valuable asset that's got all the thought process built into it, and said, okay, yeah, you Mr. Customer, can now put that on a piece of commodity-based Intel hardware, which gave birth to Spectrum Accelerate. Then we came out with A9000, and recognizing capacity and consumer pricing isn't the only thing that customers are looking for in a hybrid cloud. They're also now looking for that high performance asset that can deliver OLTP, can deliver VDI, can deliver very high performance virtual infrastructure environments. So we have the same software engine, the same advanced function assets built behind that full range. You can go out and buy that as one perpetual license now. So we're actually demonstrating how much we feel there is value in that asset, saying, hey, when you're buying an A9000, you have a perpetual license for that Spectrum Accelerate product that product's built on. And now what we're doing with HSM is we're bringing that even further into the user domain and saying, we're going to give you one very user-friendly pane of glass to manage that full Spectrum Accelerate environment with. Next chart, please, Michelle. Okay, flexible cloud storage. So as I was just saying, we can, if you look at the left-hand side at the bottom of the chart, we've got this enterprise class block structure, which you know well as clients, which is built over, has its bones, if you like, in the XIV system. We then introduced the performance-based elements of that in the A9000 to add to the capacity-based elements. Now with cloud, customers are probably going to build with those pre-integrated environments and then move into either Spectrum Accelerate on-premise if they feel more comfortable with that touch and feel of their cloud. Some may go directly to cloud if they've already been building in that environment. But I think a lot of customers at the moment are in that wishy-washy point of, where is my cloud? Should I build it internally first so I can start touching and feeling it? Or should I go directly out to Bluemix and play out there? And I think it's probably 60% are looking at the touchy-feely bit first, and then they're going to go out into the, make inroads into that cloud bit. So we've got the ability here to look across the whole spectrum of hybrid cloud storage. Click again, please, Moshe. So common underlying hardware and common technology at the software layer means less retraining. If you've currently got an XIV and you decide that you're going to bring an A9000 in, or you've just been out and bought an A9000 and you're looking for a capacity solution, maybe for chunks of your business important but not business critical from a performance perspective environments for VMware, then you may decide, hey, I want to bolt an XIV in here. Your guys don't have to go and learn another interface. If you look at your environment, you probably have hardware from multiple vendors. Each one of those vendors will have their own interface. You may have hardware from the same vendor doing similar functions, and they have different interfaces. Here, you don't need to train people on the new stuff. In fact, when we go out and demo this from a roadshow perspective, we say that this new interface is so friendly, even my VP could do it. And sometimes we do have our VP with us, and we do force him to do it. Click again, please, Moshe. So we're offering a seamless experience across all of these environments, and that's critical to the new storage admin. If I'm sat there with a pre-integrated solution and my infrastructure architect is saying, hey, we're going to go build ourselves a cloud and we're going to start moving into that environment, HSM is giving that storage admin or that system admin the ability to go in and use insight and the insight functions within the product to make decisions of what should I move to the cloud? What's the performance I'm getting out of my environment currently? And when I do move to the cloud, can I see that I'm hitting my business and my service level agreements? Those are important things. And it means that I'm actually reducing his load, that admin's load, because he's not spending 50%, a huge amount of his time doing more repetitive everyday tasks and taking a long time to do them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into, do you want to click again, Moshe? We're going to start talking to Moshe now, and I'm going to hand over to him, and he's going to talk to you about the evolution of his baby. Moshe, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. So hi, everyone. Let's talk about Hyperscale Manager 5.x. We started this project 3 years ago. And we started this project. We put a goal to this process of redefine or reconceptualize storage management from scratch. We wanted to recheck what happened in the last 10 years in the storage market, understand our competitors, and understand how the users are using our user interface or management solution in the last 10 years. And to find places we had a great management solution, as Nick said, but we want to find whether we can improve even more. So our goals were basically to redesign the storage admin workflows. We took several workflows and literally visited like tens of customers to understand in their site, understand how they are working in the daily tasks, in the short processes or the long processes, and we found a lot of stuff there. So we wanted to create new user experience which will be easier, that their flows and tasks will take less time than with the current management solutions in the market. And what we found, as Nick said, is that although the GUIs are very good and the management is great and the customer loves it, the customer still needs to remember stuff around his configuration environment, because when he starts any flow or task, there are prerequisites, there are dependencies, and there is nothing there that lives alone. You have relationships around all your configuration environment. One system is related to the other system, which relates to other volumes inside it, which relates to the replication mirrors or to consistency groups and others, and it's a graph. It's a graph of decisions. It's hard to decide in this environment, and when you have a lot of objects, and our customers became having a lot of objects, it became harder. So avoid memorizing, not taking in a set of orders. So when you start a flow, you don't necessarily need to start from A to Z. You can start from Z to A and finish at the same finish line. So that was the goal. The process that we did it in the last 3 years is that we, first of all, integrated the agile methodology in our development environment, so we can do running iterations with customer validations and involve customer along our development process. And we involved the IBM design thinking process, which basically means that we involve the customer as much as we can. Another thing that we did in our process is integrate the latest and greatest in UI art and science. So, UI, user interface, and user experience dramatically changed in the last 10 years. No one heard about user experience 10 years ago. People did it, but no one called it user experience. And the user interface was changed dramatically from to flat UI from previous methodologies, and we needed to integrate the latest UI art and the XAV GUI, what we call the old XAV GUI, the current one that is still there, doesn't have the latest UI art. So it's great and nice, but we wanted to be first in line with the greatest and latest. As I said before, we worked in Agile methodology and we worked closely with customers. We had around 26 design partners. It's a huge number, 26 customers around the world that helped us to shape and design the product. We did not design it alone. We designed it with the customers, to the customers. So we did a step of design, we gave them, they said what they think, we reiterated, and so forth. So it was a very, very nice process to be involved in, but you saw how the product is being shaped because of what the customer said, not because of what the designer said in the studio. So we had 2 years of research, design and development from scratch. All this product you're going to see in a minute in a demo is built from scratch, the latest technologies and the latest UI art and user experience, a lot of research around the product. And with GA, we released the first release on April 16. From then till now, 1 year later, we are continuing the user experience validations, the design validations, and closing the gaps from the XAV GUI with features, and we're adding a lot of features in each release to close gaps and improve the user experience dramatically. The outcome of, after saying what are the goals and do the process, the outcome are basically great stuff and innovative. So first we have new ways to graphically monitor your hybrid cloud, as Nick said, your Spectrum Accelerate, whether it's on-premise or off-premise, the same thing from our point of view, in a single pane of glass with XAV and Flash System A9000. So you have one wide environmental view that you can manage everything through it, and it dramatically save you time and simplify management. As I said before, user doesn't need to start from A necessarily to go to Z. You can start from E, jump to A, jump to B, and then to Z. So basically, our new interface helps you that if you accidentally started from the wrong phase, you immediately you can basically continue from the phase you started, and everything will work at the end somehow like a magic. And I'll show you how it works in a demo. Our dashboard, we have a very nice dashboard that you'll see, the opening screen in the application, summarize anything in front of you, even your health of your environment, your best, if you are working by our best practices, and we have a lot of best practices to work with our storage. And most of the time the customers are not exposed to these best practices. Now they are exposed using our dashboard and the Hyperscale Manager that monitors the customer environment to be updated with the configuration, and alerts or notifies if there is any deviation from any best practice or if there is any alert. So after saying all this stuff, and you'll see how we did it in a minute, but our tasks, the storage admin task, basically cut by half. We did a lot of tests around, we took like 11 storage admin tasks, either simple ones or complex ones, and compared between the XAV GUI, which still a very, very good management user interface, and compared it to the Hyperscale Manager, and we found out that with the Hyperscale Manager, you can do the same thing by half. So you basically provision faster, troubleshooting faster, and save time for your team to do the new projects or to do innovation and to think ahead, to think into the future and not think now tactic. The enablers to do all this stuff is by, of course, embedding analytics, smart filtering to find very fast whatever you need, and a very, very strong navigation mechanism that you'll see in a minute that really nobody has in the market. And to end it, we have around 20 patents and innovations registered only around the user interface and the concept and the user experience. I'm not talking about technology stuff. I'm talking only about user experience, which means we need a lot of innovation work here and try to think different. So what's new? In IBM Hyperscale Manager 5.1, which was released at the end of 16. As I said, manage all your Spectrum Accelerator family in one place. It's an HTML5 web browser. You can open it in any browser or any PC, Mac, laptop, whatever it is, even iPad or tablet, as Nick said. And you can manage up to 144 arrays. They can be whatever you like. Some can be in 1,000, some XIV, some Spectrum Accelerator, but in all 144 arrays. We have a lot of dashboard stuff that you'll see in a minute. You have what we call the hub. The hub, you'll see what it means. The hub basically is a centric place for you to see what's going on in your environment, and it monitors your health in any given time, and it's configurable, which is very important when we have a lot of customers, that each customer works differently than the other. We know it. We are one product that's meant to be perfect for all our customers, so we must give configuration aspects to our customers. Of course, if you have provisioning, doing it faster, simplify the management, a lot of analytics that we added, and you'll see forecast, trend and forecast that is embedded inside the UI. You don't need a report. You have it all while you're working with the GUI, while you're deciding stuff inside your interface. A lot of reporting and auditing mechanisms, a lot of security enhancements, and so forth. So the key features in Hyperscale Manager that enables what we said till now, in order to improve user efficiency, in order to have faster provisioning, monitoring, troubleshooting, and to improve the insights on your environment. So this is the hub that I talked before about. This is our, we have a pattern around the hub, and the hub shows you here with its unique legs what's going on in your environment around mapping, around capacity, around hardware, and you may have 100 boxes, you may have 100,000 of volumes, or you may have only 500 volumes. It doesn't care, we doesn't care. We give you here tips and alerts and a health score around your environment. And you don't need to go into the UI and find the problem. The problem pops up to your face while you're working with the management application. So we are gathering a lot of information to understand your environment. Single page application, SPA. So basically SPA means that you have everything in one screen, and no pop-ups, as Nick said, nothing that blocks you from search or test or check something without interfering your current work. So you can look at the statistics while you're mirroring, while you're identifying an alert. Everything in one screen. You don't need to move between panels and back and forth just to understand something. Anywhere to anywhere navigation. You can basically navigate from any icon to anything in the screen. That's a unique something that's unique in our application. You'll see it in a minute. I can click everywhere and I'm just navigating to another place, and I can go back and forth in my application. This basically helps me to simplify my management and find very fast or troubleshoot or provision or monitor very fast in my route when I'm looking on my chain of objects or chain of relationships between the objects in my environment, again, my environment can be 100,000 of volume. So how can I even remember what's going on there? You don't need to remember anymore. You just need to jump and navigate and find exactly what you wanted to find. And the last point that helps us to help you basically to focus on new projects and innovation is a strong cognitive filtering. We have a very, very strong filtering mechanism that helps you to filter and find whatever you want on which criteria that you would like. Any query that you even imagine about, using a very fast indexing mechanism around all your objects in all your environment, and I'll show you a demo in a second. And it's cognitive because it understands how you work, and it suggests you what to do next. A very nice feature. So let's do it. Let's meet the hub and all the Hyperscale Manager live. I'll switch now to my browser to show you in my demo environment how things work. So this is the login screen of the Hyperscale Manager. One thing that you immediately see here is that it's not a standard login screen. We have here two things that helps you get into this new application very fast. First, a link to all the documentation offline. You don't need to go online, something very unique in our application. Second is a social community. Basically, we integrated a social community in our application, and you can ask other storage admins or ask the development team here in my office, my designers, my developers, questions around the application, and you'll get an answer without going through support. So you can basically share your thoughts or ask questions, and someone will reply through this social community. Let's go and log in into the application. So as long as I'm getting into application, I'm getting immediately the first screen, which is the dashboard. The dashboard, as we said before, we have here two flash system A9000s in my environment, one disk storage XAV and one SDS Spectrum Accelerate off-premise right now on Bluemix of IBM. So I have here three on-premises and one off-premise. Basically, that's a hybrid cloud. And as you can see, I'm getting the Spectrum Accelerate details here in this column the same way as I get on my on-premises systems, seamlessly. So I get here performances and capacity statistics and other stuff. I will not go with each component here to explain, but a very important component is the Health Hub that I said before. So the Health Hub shows me that I have 87% health in my environment right now, because 6% reduced by availability problems, 4% by capacity problems, and 3% because of connectivity issues. Clicking on each one of them shows me exactly what happens, and I can navigate to fix the problem. But before doing so, you should understand that this powerful Health Hub identifies any problem in my environment and scans around 25 best practices that we collected in the recent years around how XAV A9000 needs to be used and consumed in order to help you reach a great performance and to make you not risky too much, help you design and your environment smartly. And it helps you and gives you tips. So you have tips, and you have also alerts. So here I can see that I have minus 6% because there is an RPO lagging in one of my mirror relationships. Okay, great. That's something that I need to know, that there is an RPO lagging. So I can click on this link now and jump directly to the mirror relation to fix the problem or troubleshooting. In the capacity area, I can see that one of my systems is getting to its usage of 54%, which is the threshold here is configurable, of course, but I got an alert here. I need to do something with it. I can click on it and fix the problem. I have another alert around the pool that is 81% full. And I have another tip, which is a best practice that says, oh, you have 300 terabytes that is not being used. go and reclaim it back. You can give it to someone else. A feature that is very important. We found out that 80% of our customers are holding reclaimable capacity which is not reclaimed for years because they didn't find it in the graph of objects with all the volumes there in their environment. Around connectivity, we find things around multipath. No multipath defined between two systems here that has a connectivity between them. Or a host connectivity that has no redundancy. And that's bad, man. We recommend you to have a redundancy between your host and the system. Or two hosts that are connected to less than 4 system modules. It may impact on performance. So you can see here things you never got in previous releases and basically in other management solution. I never saw a lot of best practices and tips that are given to the customer immediately when the management application finds any problem. So that's the Health Hub. The tabs at the top here, not my browser tabs, but the tabs of the application, helps me basically to do around 20 different tasks and 20 different things in parallel. And the tabs are talking with each other. So if I'm doing something in one tab and change something that influences another tab, I will know that. If in one tab I wanted to resize my volume and I don't have a place in the pool, so I'll open a new tab, resize the pool, and the resize volume tab will say, I am okay, I'm good to go because you fixed the pool size in another tab. So the tabular mechanism helps me to be multitasking, not task by task, but a flow user-centric, user flow oriented. If you have 4 tasks to do in one flow, you can do them each one in a new tab. And you can manage it faster by that. Simplifying management and of course doing things faster. And I'll show around the tabs great things in a moment. So one tab I have a dashboard, the other tab now that I open says to me start by clicking menu here or the filter. What is this filter all about? So first of all I have 4 systems and we know it. One is off-premise, 3 are on-premises. Clicking here will basically show me a lot of stuff around filter queries. So the first 5 are suggestions for me from the management application to my user. Go there. Why are you suggesting me to go to volume as the first one? That's because the application learned me and my preferences in this time of the day with this context I'm in right now in the application, and it knows using cognitive tools what to suggest to me first. We found out that our customers using this feature reduced their work time by 20 to 30%. That's dramatically, only because we added cognitive filtering to our application. So we have suggestion here, where to go, volume pool, user group and stuff. I can see in the brackets how many do I have in my environment, and afterwards I can see the recent filters I did in the last 6 months. I can see here a history. It's like the history of your Google search, the same thing. And I can scroll down here and see more recent and more suggestions at the bottom. The filter is also free text, so I can write VOL, which means volume, and the filter window is now filtered with only the things that relate to VOL. So VOL it can mean volume, or it can be host that is mapped to a specific volume name. Maybe you mean this one, or maybe you mean a volume name that contains VOL, because you have 207 of them in your environment, and so forth. So let's do, basically I wanted to see volume. So I click on volume and hit the return key in my keyboard. Immediately, I get my 207 volumes in all my environment, off-premise or on-premise. So now what happens is that I have here a hint saying select object or click to create a new one. I can click a new volume by clicking on the plus here, or select one of the objects or multiple objects to understand and investigate. Let's just select one object here. So what happens immediately when I click one object, Immediately I get in a single page application everything I need for my daily work. Either my performance metrics on this volume, so it's doing right now 41,000 IOPS in a latency of 0.2 milliseconds and a bandwidth of 488 megabits per second. On the right side, I get my inspector for the object selected on the left. So I can see the hub of this volume. This one volume is mapped to somewhere because the line here is not dashed. It has no mirroring and no replication, that's why it's dashed. It has no quality of service limitation. It's not in any consistency group right now. It is not migrated and it's not mobile to any other system. So I get immediately, in one click, information, what's going on with this volume. Very fast. I know exactly in one glance what's going on. I can see, for instance, if my environment doesn't allow volumes without replication, I can see immediately there is a volume without a replication here on the hub. So if this volume has no replication, I can click on the leg of the availability and immediately add a replication in one click to fix the problem. So again, the inspector on the left, on the right side, shows me what's going on with my object and its relationships, and gives me an option to fix the problem or create something or do something or add a relationship to other objects in one or two clicks, very fast. On the other hand, if there is a relationship to another object, so this one volume is mapped to somewhere, clicking on mapping will show me here that it's mapped to one host and 0 clusters. Which host is it mapped to? Here I can see below the host that my volume is mapped to and the LAN it's mapped to right now. I can jump and see this host and navigate to it in order to understand what's going on with this host. So in other management application, I needed to go to the menu, click on host, and search for this host. Or click Ctrl F and find this host. I don't need to do it here. I just need to click on the edge here on the hub. I just click on it. Immediately, I move to this host. And after I move to this host, navigated to this host, a back arrow was added here at the top saying you can go back, don't worry, to the volume that you saw before. So I jump to the host and I can see that this host right now is mapped to 14 volumes. It has no POS, it has a connectivity to the system, to specific systems, but it's not in any cluster. Clicking on connectivity shows me that it's connected to Flash System A9001 to 5 modules. I can see a graphical connectivity by opening the pop-up here, by clicking on details. And I can see again the statistics of this specific host. So you saw basically how I'm filtering and then how I'm clicking on one object and see the statistics and the hub plus the inspector here at the bottom in one click. I can see the information of capacity immediately here at the bottom, and I can change in one click the parameters of the object. So while I'm looking on the IOPS of the object, I can change its name. Click here on the field, add more digits to its end, and hit apply. This will change the name. I can also resize the volume by clicking on the field of size and add more numbers. Oh, I cannot do it because I don't have space in the pool to increase the size of the volume. I'm canceling this one. So modifying and navigating while I'm looking on statistics is very fast. I can also open the statistics panel and see what's going on with statistics. So I immediately the current IOPS sliding from right to left, showing me the most updated IOPS of this specific object I selected at the top. So look what you see right now. That's a magic. You see here one selected object with its properties here. You see how it relates to the to the rest of the world in your storage environment, and you can modify or inspect anything here very fast while you're looking on the IOPS of the object. And I can change, of course, to any other metric like historic or latency, current or historic, or I can focus on one interface or one port, and so forth. I can also zoom out right now and add another chart. So I'm having two charts right now. I can compare between them, like latency and IOPS, for instance. And while I'm looking and comparing the latency to IOPS, like I'm doing right now, I'm looking at the object on the right side, on the left side, on the top, and I get everything I need to decide whatever I want. Let's close the statistics and zoom in again. Let's do some nice tasks together. I try to do it very fast so you understand very fast how it simplifies your management and you can provision faster and improve your insight. So first of all, let's create a volume. Let's create a volume and look how fast and simple it is. I'm going to systems to see all my systems in my environment. One system is on the cloud, as we said, and the rest are off premises. Let's take A9001, the first flash system here. Clicking on the flash system, what happens? You remember? Performance at the bottom, hub on the right, information at the bottom, here. Everything in front of me. I want to create a volume here. I'm going to Actions, Volume, Create Volume here. Clicking on it, asks me the regular stuff, the name, the size, and so forth. Let's give it just the 12. Let's create 3 of them, each one with 50 gigabytes of space, and put it in pool called Exchange. I can create in one click here. And I just added 3 volumes. After creating those 3 volumes, I'm focused on them immediately. They are selected, and you remember what happened when I'm selecting an object on the left side? Again, performance at the bottom, hub of these 3 volumes on the right, and their capacity information here below. I can see immediately those volumes are not mapped and not mirrored. Let's map them very fast. Click on Map, click on the plus icon. Let's just map them to demo host 1. With AutoLAN, hit Apply, and those 3 volumes just mapped to the same host in multiple LANs in one click. So I can see the 3 volumes are now mapped. The line is solid and not dashed. And I want to mirror them right now, or put them inside a CG, in a consistency group. Let's hit the consistency group and add here a consistency group. So I can create a consistency group on the fly while I'm moving the volumes to consistency group or select an existing one. So everywhere that you're trying to do something and you need to choose an object from a list, you'll get this combo box that gives you the option to create on the fly. This is another thing we found out that happens a lot, that in order to move something somewhere or to put something somewhere, you need first to create it, the target container. So if there is a prerequisite. So if you forgot, you start to move the volume to the CG, and then you find out, oh, my CG is not here yet. You need to close the. So again, the inspector on the left, on the right side, shows me what's going on with my object and its relationships, and gives me an option to fix the problem or create something or do something or add a relationship to other objects in 1 or 2 clicks, very fast. On the other hand, if there is a relationship to another object, so this one volume is mapped to somewhere, clicking on mapping will show me here that it's mapped to 1 host and 0 clusters. Which host is it mapped to? Here I can see below the host that my volume is mapped to and the LAN it's mapped to right now. I can jump and see this host and navigate to it in order to understand what's going on with this host. So in other management application, I needed to go to the menu, click on host, and search for this host. Or click Ctrl F and find this host. I don't need to do it here. I just need to click on the edge here on the hub. I just click on it. Immediately, I move to this host. And after I move to this host, navigate to this host, a back arrow was added here at the top saying you can go back, don't worry, to the volume that you saw before. So I jump to the host and I can see that this host right now is mapped to 14 volumes. It has no POS, it has a connectivity to the system, to specific systems, but it's not in any cluster. Clicking on connectivity shows me that it's connected to Flash System A9001 to 5 modules. I can see a graphical connectivity by opening the pop-up here by clicking on details. And I can see again the statistics of this specific host. So you saw basically how I'm filtering and then how I'm clicking on one object and see the statistics and the hub plus the inspector here at the bottom in one click. I can see the information of capacity immediately here at the bottom, and I can change in one click the parameters of the object. So while I'm looking on the IOPS of the object, I can change its name. Click here on the field, add more digits to its end, and hit apply. This will change the name. I can also resize the volume by clicking on the field of size and add more numbers. Oh, I cannot do it because I don't have space in the pool to increase the size of the volume. I'm canceling this pool. So modifying and navigating while I'm looking on statistics is very fast. I can also open the statistics panel and see what's going on with statistics. So I immediately the current IOPS sliding from right to left, showing me the most updated IOPS of this specific object I selected at the top. So look what you see right now. That's a magic. You see here one selected object with its properties here. You see how it relates to the to the rest of the world in your storage environment, and you can modify or inspect anything here very fast while you're looking on the IOPS of the object. And I can change, of course, to any other metric like history or latency, current history, or I can focus on one interface or one port and so forth. I can also zoom out right now and add another chart. So I'm having two charts right now. I can compare between them, like latency and IOPS, for instance. And while I'm looking and comparing the latency to IOPS, like I'm doing right now, I'm looking at the object on the right side, on the left side, on the top, and I get everything I need to decide whatever I want. Let's close the statistics and zoom in again. Let's do some nice tasks together. I try to do it very fast so you understand very fast how it simplifies your management and you can provision faster and improve your insight. So first of all, let's create a volume. Let's create a volume and look how fast and simple it is. I'm going to systems to see all my systems in my environment. One system is on the cloud, as we said, and the rest are on premises. Let's take A9001, the first flash system here. Clicking on the flash system, what happens? You remember? Performance at the bottom, hub on the right, information at the bottom, here. Everything in front of me. I want to create a volume here. I'm going to Actions, Volume, Create Volume here. Clicking on it, asks me the regular stuff, the name, the size, and so forth. Let's give it just the 12. Let's create 3 of them, each one with 50 gigabytes of space, and put it in pool called Exchange. I can create in one click here. And I just added 3 volumes. After creating those 3 volumes, I'm focused on them immediately. They are selected, and you remember what happened when I'm selecting an object on the left side? Again, performance at the bottom, hub of these 3 volumes on the right, and their capacity information here below. I can see immediately those volumes are not mapped and not mirrored. Let's map them very fast. Click on Map, click on the plus icon. Let's just map them to demo host 1. And with AutoLAN, hit apply. and those 3 volumes just mapped to the same host in multiple lines in one click. So I can see the 3 volumes are now mapped. The line is solid and not dashed. And I want to mirror them right now, or put them inside a CG, in a consistency group. Let's hit the consistency group and add here a consistency group. So I can create a consistency group on the fly while I'm moving the volumes to consistency group, or select an existing one. So everywhere that you're trying to do something and you need to choose an object from a list, you'll get this combo box that gives you the option to create on the fly. This is another thing we found out that happens a lot, that in order to move something somewhere or to put something somewhere, you need first to create it, the target container. So if there is a prerequisite. So if you forgot, you start to move the volume to the CG, and then you find out, oh, my CG is not here yet. You need to close the pop-up in old GUIs, create a CG, go back to the volume, and move the volume. So here, you can do it very fast by just creating on the fly while you're moving the volumes to it. So I hit create consistency group. What happens basically is that a new tab is opened at the top near the volumes tab that's still waiting for me to hit the consistency group and select it from the combo. So I didn't close anything. It's still there in the tab waiting for me. And in the new tab, I'm giving a name for the CG. Hit create and close button. It's creating the CG, close the tab, gets back to the previous volume, put the selected consistency group inside the combo box, and I click apply, and that's it. Very fast. Let's do another thing here. Let's try to do things around a single page application. So let's filter a bit. I want to filter all my volumes that are mapped and identify their whether I need to mirror things that are not mirrored there, and mirror them very fast. So let's find all the volumes, VOL, click on volume, and I have 210 of them that are mapped. So I'm writing mapped. While I'm writing mapped, it shows me all the things that I can do with mapped. So volume is mapped, that's what I want. Yes. Hit the return key, and I get all the volumes, 152 volumes that are mapped in my environment. Let's find the lowest performance volumes and mirror them. Control A on all the volumes in the table, selecting all the volumes on the grid here. Again, gives me the hub of 152 volumes with all the mapping information, all the mirroring information, all the consistency group information, so forth. And again, the statistics information. Let's find out what are the volumes that are lowest performing right now. I see the current IOPS of 152 volumes. Tooltipping on them shows me what are the minimum IOPS right now. Those are doing the lowest IOPS right now. Let's click on the mean here, and this will jump me to look and view only on these 3 volumes. Clicked on them, and I'm looking right now on these 3 volumes, showing me the same screen with these 3 volumes. I see the statistics of them, I see them selected here, I see the hub of them, and I see the capacity of them, showing me they are compressed and how much I gain from compression. They are not mirrored, any of them. Availability is 0. So let's click on it, and let's mirror them in an asynchronous mirroring to another secondary system. So I'm connected to a Spectrum Accelerate off-premise right now. I can basically mirror things on my XIV on-premise to an off-premise on the cloud system. Clicking on the Spectrum Accelerate, which is connected to my system, selecting a pool on the other side. Let's select this pool, for instance. Go down and put the RPO for the asynchronous mirroring, and hit the apply button. Will basically mirror the 3 volumes. There is not enough free space for on the other side, on the other secondary system, so I need first to enlarge the pool on the other system. But basically, that's how I'm mirroring very fast the volumes. So what I did, I found volumes by filtering them by isMapTS, looked at the statistics, picked only the minimum IOPS volume, the ones that are doing the minimum IOPS right now, and mirror them in one click to a destination, off-premise on the cloud. Last thing that I want to do here is to find candidates to offload workloads from on-premise to off-premise. So again, doing the same thing, finding the lowest IOPS volumes is basically asking all the volumes from my environment. Let's get all the volumes in my environment. Here they are, 210 volumes. Again, Control A, selecting them all, open the statistics chart, and find the ones that are doing that are low performance or doing minimum IOPS, so I can move them and offload them to the cloud to release some space in my on-premise systems. Again, clicking on the mean here, jump directly to the ones that are doing minimum IOPS. And I can now look where they are mapped to, understand whether I can offload them to the cloud, yes or no. I can get information around whether they are inside the consistency group, yes or no, and others environment and other parameters in the environment. I can look in their IOPS and what they are doing right now. Okay, that's fine. I can move it to the cloud. That's great numbers to move to offload the cloud. So where to move them? To which pool in my cloud? I have multiple pools. Let's open a new tab and find a place to move them. Let's find pools that are in off-premise. Pool off-premise, yes. Now see all the pools that are there in the cloud in my environment. I can look on their capacity information, how many volumes are there, and so forth. And I can again click on each one of them and understand whether I have free space to allocate volumes and whether they are having any quality of service limitation to find out who is the one to move the volumes to. I can also scroll right here and look and see whether each one of them is going to hit any threshold soon. I can see the growth rate of each one of the pools. So this one is doing 41 gigabytes a month, while this one is doing 8 gigabytes a month. And I can see that this one is going to reach and hit warning threshold on 24th of June 2017, which is 3 months from now. So trend and forecast of capacity is integrated here in order to decide where is the best place to put volumes in. I can click on this pool and again see the hub of it and capacity information, and clicking on the usage graph, moving to forecast, shows me the forecast information. I can see the growth of this pool. This is the current time. The middle line here is the current time, and while sliding to the right with the dashed line, I see the forecast and the growth and where it gets to threshold. So if we go back to the presentation, we talked about simplifying management, provisioning faster, improving your insights around trend and forecast, and moving very fast on the slide, we can see things we did, like navigation faster from the hub, or from the statistics, or from the table itself. You can navigate from everywhere to everywhere. You can work with tabs that simplifies your management. You can select multiple objects and see their information on the right side and run actions on them. You can provision faster by a single page application and see a lot of information in front of you. The hub helps you to do user-centric workflows. The filter helps you to find immediately with cognitive analytics things you would like to work on right now. Improving insights by the Health Hub, which is configurable with 25 best practices and tips. And trend and forecast, as we saw in the last example. And we have also a report for your CIO to give him for the next year information around trend and forecast and when you'll get out of physical space to buy whatever new hardware for the next floor plan. That's it. Moving back to you, Nick.
Thank you, Moshe. That was amazing. I never get tired looking at that. For the audience perspective, you should understand that this is Moshe's baby, and he could have continued on this for the rest of the day. We did constrain him. But what I'd like to do is take us back to where we started and how HSM and software-defined infrastructure aims to make everything our everyday tasks that not only a storage admin, but maybe a system admin, maybe an application admin might want to do with their real physical systems, their on-prem cloud or their off-prem cloud systems. This is intuitive enough that you can do those everyday tasks more simply. But the cool bit is, I would say, probably the last 5 or 6 minutes of Moshe's demonstration, which is saying, okay, my boss is telling me I've got to start moving some of this stuff to the cloud. Do I go and run 20 different reports, build a spreadsheet, create a chart deck, or do I sit my boss down in front of this HSM display and say, hey, come and see this. This is what I've found. I've found these 5 volumes. Application provider, are you happy for me to move them in the cloud because they're not really using any resources, and they could be just as happy over there, where it costs a cent on the dollar to store them. You can do that instantly. That innovation, that new project stuff, you can do. So we're looking to make the storage admin and the whole infrastructure more economic and easier to handle. Next chart, please. So, if you're on an XIV or you're on an A9000, go out and look at this right now. Go and upgrade your system and start using this product. It's going to give you a smarter, more efficient, and more insightful view of your storage. When you want to make that transition either from a capacity to a performance platform or a hybrid of both, or you want to move from capacity to an on-prem, off-prem cloud hybrid environment, this is going to become a very easy solution for you. A lot of customers can spend up to 6 months actually transitioning workloads from one storage device to another, because they have to do all that research, they have to do all that confirmation, and then when they want to physically do it, it's a very difficult task. If you want to learn more, can you go to the next chart for me, Moshe? If you want to learn more, we've given you some links here. My little article out there in Systems Magazine will talk more about hyperscale management in cloud. There's a great red paper out there. This is unusual for a red book because the GUI is so intuitive. You don't need an 800-page red book to do it. To talk to you about it. Really, you just need a smaller red paper. There's some great videos out there that look at Hyperscale Manager 5.1 from a getting started perspective. One on troubleshooting and one on provisioning. So you'll probably hear Moshe's voice again. And go look at the community. I was looking at the blog item there just before we came on, and again, there's a great walkthrough how this product works, and the benefits that it's going to deliver you. Okay, you can go and click on the here and get and download the deployment kit. Sorry. Next chart, please, Moshe. Okay, so we're at a Q&A point. I know we're beyond time, so for those people who have sat here for the past hour, I hope you've really enjoyed it. If you've got some burning questions that you want to ask development, let's open the lines up.
Right. There was a couple of questions in the question box. The first one, Daniel asked about cross-platform portability with HDC. Either of you gentlemen want to take that one?
I'm not sure what he means by HDC, but if we got Daniel Demand's ID, we'll talk about that.
Right. And then the other question was from Bob, who wanted to know, is the Hyperscale Manager documentation its own separate set of documentation or part of someone else's documentation, another product?
So the hyperscale manager documentation is a separate one. Yes, you have a user guide and release notes. Hyperscale manager.
But there's also that red paper available. So that gives you the more cookbook approach than the traditional development level documents.
Yep.
Okay, since there are no other questions, and that is all the time we have for our webinar today, we invite everyone to download this presentation by clicking on the handouts icon at the bottom of your screen and explore the different materials and links that are provided, which we just saw. On behalf of Nick, Moshe, and myself, thanks for joining us. Have a great day. This webcast is now officially concluded.